Greetings to you. I'm Keith Massey. If you go just a little ways north from the Colosseum in Rome and enter the Church of St. Peter in Chains, there you can see, wonder of wonders, a statue of Moses by Michelangelo. But you'll notice in this statue, Moses has horns. In this video, I will explain why Michelangelo would have put horns on his Moses and what the biblical verse that prompted all this might really have originally meant. In Exodus 34, verses 29, 30, and 35, we read that the skin of Moses' face, karan. And karan here is a verb meaning, well, we don't know, because it only occurs in this single passage. We do have a very common noun from the root, keren, meaning horn. But as a verb, we have no context to determine the meaning. The rest of the passage describes that Moses, as a result of whatever it was that karan meant, would wear a veil, masveh, over his face. He would take off the veil when he spoke to God, but put it back on when in front of the children of Israel. He did this because the skin of Moses' face, karan. Already in ancient times, these verses were generating confusion. The Greek Septuagint translation offers an interpretation when it renders the verb as dedoxastai, was glorified. St. Jerome translates this based on the Hebrew noun and gives us for his Latin translation horned face, faciem cornutam, which is the basis of Michelangelo's famous statue. Another ancient interpretation, generally followed in modern translations, is to view this as a verb meaning to shine. This seems to have support in the use of the root in Habakkuk 3:4, where we read, "His radiance is like light. He has two rays coming from his hand." The word rendered as rays there is karnayim, literally two horns. Perhaps this means bolts of lightning, which could resemble horns. So if this verb means something like to send out rays, then we can translate the passage as the skin of Moses' face shone. This brings me to my theory. While examining this matter, I spent some time considering a possible interpretation based on the same root in Arabic. This root primarily means to connect or to join. This gives us common words such as muqarana, comparison, and qarina, wife, literally joined one. The root also provides the same common noun as Hebrew. The Arabic word qarn means horn. But I was intrigued to discover that this verbal root in Arabic, in what is known as 10th form derivation, istaqrana, has the meaning to produce pus, to come to a head as of boils. Arabic and Hebrew are both descended from a common ancestor, and so the meaning of a root in Arabic can be a valid window into the meaning of the same root in Hebrew. I am not the first to suggest that karan here is describing that the skin of Moses' face was somehow having the consistency of a horn or was disfigured in some way. But my novel contribution is to use the Arabic root as further proof that the verbal root in Hebrew could mean that the skin of Moses' face was somehow ravaged by severe acne or was leaking with pus. This could also explain more directly why Moses is covering his face with some type of a cloth when not in the presence of God. In addition to this condition possibly being a disfigurement, it required a cloth to treat the symptoms. Exodus 34:30 states that the people were afraid to draw near to Moses because the skin of his face, karan. It is more likely that they were afraid to draw near to him because of a concern of catching what he had, or because of revulsion at the sight of his condition. If his face was shining, they would have been afraid, to be sure, but the text specifically states that they were afraid to draw near to him. This indicates fear of being near him, which was more likely as a result of a condition than merely his appearance. It may be that this root meaning is what generates the meaning of horn. A pastoral people certainly knew that animals are not born with horns. The horns sprout out of buds on the head, much as a boil will mature and then produce a white surface before breaking. In the final analysis, it is significant that whatever this verbal root originally meant, it was specifically affecting Moses' skin. For that reason alone, it is more likely than not that this was describing a skin condition, not some supernatural phenomenon.